Hi, welcome back to the A&S Way with me, Sel and Ant, and today we are in
Henderson.
Yeah, last weekend we started a tour of Summerlin just to show what it's like for us and what we like about Summerlin, but we thought we would come and venture out to Henderson. We haven't been here since...
Well, we've been here to visit people.
Yeah, to visit people,
a
couple of meals out here in Henderson, but it's not somewhere we typically come to. But we thought we'd come out here just to show a bit about Henderson. How would you describe it?
Well, I'd first say that when moving to Las Vegas and people find out and they know about it, they'll tell you to live in one of two places.
Yeah.
So it's either Henderson or Summerlin. They are the two main areas that people like to live if they can afford it when you come to Las Vegas. There's lots of other areas, but these are the two ones people say if you can afford it, choose there. People describe Summerlin as the bougie part of Las Vegas and Henderson as the more normal. However, Henderson's actually its own city. It's not part of Las Vegas. Summerlin is a suburb of Las Vegas, the city, and it's all under Clark County. Henderson is its own place. It has its own fire department, it has its own police, it has its own rules. It's a completely separate area, even though it borders Las Vegas.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to think about when you're considering the move here. You're probably going to be told the exact same thing, Summerlin or Henderson, but when you're comparing the two, it's not the same at all. With Henderson, you are really considering a whole town, city, and within that there's lots of different areas, whereas Summerlin is just one area.
Yeah. For me, we came here day 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5 of when we landed.
Slightly dazed and confused.
There's probably 3 or 4 videos of when we first arrived, and we were very dazed. We were looking to buy a place because I was set on Henderson until we arrived in
That's
Summerlin.
really a good point, actually. So when we started looking into places to live and I was explaining to Ant about the different areas, I think Ant was fairly sure that he was going to like Henderson more than Summerlin.
Yeah, I was. And if you haven't been here and you look online, everything you could ever want is in Henderson. Everything. They have there's a double community pool, really nice homes, every service, and there's multiples of them. There'll be 10 jiu-jitsu gyms, there'll be 15 different fast food, there'll be 100 different restaurants, there'll be many different supermarkets. So in my mind, it's like, why would you ever need to be anywhere else? There's so much here. When you arrive, though, you might find it's slightly different. Summerlin has enough, but it just feels a lot more relaxed, a little bit more upmarket. The roads, I mean, the first thing you notice as you arrive into Henderson, the roads are shocking. You'll see online people complain about Las Vegas roads. It's not Las Vegas in general, because Summerlin to me has really nice roads.
Yeah,
here
it really just
bad.
depends. And I think that's it. We found a pocket within Vegas, which is Summerlin, that we really liked, whereas Henderson, I guess you would really have to do your research, which we did try to do. When we came here, we went to multiple different areas. We came to, I think we started in Black Mountain. We then looked at Green Valley. An area called Anthem was highly recommended for because they still do master plan type communities with, as Ant said, with the pool, with cycle paths, trails. So they have lovely homes here as well. So we do want to, even though we love Summerlin, we know Henderson is a nice place.
It's a 50 times upgrade from where we come from. It's still that nice. So we thought we would go to some different areas and show you around and
make a decision on whether we made a mistake or not.
No, we definitely didn't. Even coming back here, it's nice, it's very nice, but when you're driving through, it's just not for me.
I should point out, the last time we came here, we came to visit friends for dinner, and it was in Inspirada here, actually. And the first thing Ant did say was, it feels a bit more normal here, and if we had children, we'd probably prefer to bring them up here. There's something about Summerlin, and it's hard to explain. It's a different way of living, and it's almost not faked, but it's just too good in some ways that you kind of want your children to have some real realities.
I would say it's faked. It feels like, even every day I drive through it every day, and it feels fake to me. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like you're too far removed from things happening. And especially most of the roads that we live on, we're hearing through traffic. We have no through traffic.
Yeah,
they're just homes.
Quiet.
People do their thing and then they go in and lock it off. Here, it feels like any London.
It's a lot more
suburb,
densely
really.
populated here.
So we've stopped off about
5 minutes? No, 3 minutes.
probably 2 minutes up the road, 2 to 3 minutes. And what's really nice here is it seems to be all built around this central pathway that breaks off into multiple different parks. I think there's been 3 parks. They're very small, they're very narrow,
yeah.
but they run, I don't know, a few hundred meters each, probably a bit more than
Bit
that.
more, yeah.
Maybe half a kilometre each. And then either side of those are all of the homes. And something that's really interesting, and I'll try and get it in, is a lot of these homes, these ones are normal, but a lot of the homes are kind of backwards. So the front of the house looks at the park, the central park, so if you imagine both sides, but the garages and the roads run behind the homes.
Yeah, so, and I noticed that the first time we came to Inspirada, that a lot of the homes don't have the typical style with the front door, the garage at the front, and the parking for your driveway. It's all kind of based around the front, facing in towards the park, but then your parking space is on the side of the house. And the way it's formed is there's these cul-de-sacs round the parallel to the central park in the middle.
But I'm really enjoying the parks, and one of the parks has it's got a Italian restaurant, a cafe, depending on where you're from. The swimming pool. This one seems to have like a mini trail that you'd bring kids' bikes on, or maybe the dogs, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I like it. And it's very quiet. It's a Sunday morning at the moment, and it's very quiet. I would be curious to know how busy it does get. I should also point out, gloves, scarf. It's December and it does get chilly here, but not as cold as it is in the UK, because we were just there about 3 weeks ago. So you can, in the UK, I had hat, thermals on, it was a lot colder. And the difference is that the sun is shining every day here, which can be deceiving because you look at it and you think it's warmer than it is, and it's not.
I've got double layer on everywhere, but it's still a bit cold for me. And we just found, so it looks like each one of the parks has its own pool. So again, another double pool. I'm guessing one for lengths and one for just chilling. It's nice, very nice. Very, very, very different to Summerlin because they've got a lot more space as well, I think, to do this. I think the main thing I'm noticing is how dense it is in comparison. So how much stuff has to be on top of each other, because the population, I'm guessing, is vastly more than what we have.
There's something, especially where we live in West Summerlin, and we haven't shared the rest of Summerlin because there's North Summerlin, and it is very different, but it seems less private to where we are.
Definitely. And I know you're saying it's not that busy, but to me the first thing I notice is how busy it is. So if you're talking about people, there's not really, I've seen 2 people and 1 person walking the entire time, but there's this constant drone of traffics and trucks and delivery trucks, which we never get.
Yeah, and I would say, and maybe the less people could be because it's so cold.
You saw us having a little bit of fun. We don't have anything like that in Summerlin.
No.
So what we've realised is it's very different how you have to interpret Henderson. All of the little sub areas, such as Inspirada, which we're still at, it feels more like Ebbsfleet, and we did a video or 2 on that a couple of videos ago.
Ebbsfleet in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK. So it doesn't feel suburban where we are. It's very US suburbs. You're just out in the middle of nowhere, living this quiet life. This feels like it's a real community, and the parks allow people to come and congregate and meet your neighbours.
The thing that I realise now, and I think I'm glad that I've come back, because you start to appreciate the differences after 9 months of living in Summerlin and you come here. So as we said, you can't compare Summerlin to Henderson, because Henderson is like, you would have to compare Henderson to the whole of Las Vegas as an overall city, town, and everything that it offers. And then Summerlin, you can't even compare to, say, Inspirada or Anthem, because Summerlin in itself is a huge master plan community within Las Vegas that has been developing over, I think, over 20 years, where it's not just the communities, the residential communities they build. They're
building the roads, they're building everything.
Yeah, so it's downtown Summerlin, it's the retail parks, it's everything that's in there. Whereas in Henderson, you have these areas like Inspirada, which are more residential. So you're not comparing like for like, because if you think about where you have to go shopping and do your groceries or go to the gym, you have to go into Henderson to do that, whereas in Summerlin you have your Lifetime gym or your True Fusion or your Planet, you've got everything there.
We've only stopped at one place so far, but I'm really enjoying it in some ways. Like, for me, I would come out here. I've got an electric scooter that I haven't used since living here, because our area is just residential streets, and in order to get out to somewhere, you have to come out onto the main road and get somewhere else. Whereas here, you can scoot for a good few miles and stop off at different parks along the way. However, it definitely feels less private. You probably heard the aeroplane overhead. That's the second or third one I've heard. You hear the private aeroplanes and you hear the main aeroplanes, because you are right next to, what's it called?
There's an executive airport here.
McCarran?
And there's the main international and domestic airport, McCarran Airport here. So this is closer. So if you want to live nearer to the airport, you would definitely pick this area.
When we say near, it's funny. So we've got a friend, he's like, I needed to be as close as possible to the airport. We live 23 minutes door to door to the airport, but your perception changes. So I would consider where we lived in the UK quite close to an airport. We lived an hour from Gatwick.
Yeah.
That's close for most people. Here, 25 minutes, you're like, that's too far.
Too much.
I've got to live closer. And that's even with a little bit of traffic. A little bit of traffic, here's another airplane, 26 minutes to the airport. But here you're maybe, what, 15?
It's about 15 minutes to get to the airport from here.
But you constantly have that going on. So it takes away some of the peace in some ways, but then it's quite peaceful and nice here. We've only seen 4 or 5 different people out today.
Yeah, and the other thing I would point out, one thing I love about Summerlin is that we live right by the National Park Red Rock, and you're right really close, and those mountain views. It's not the same here, but you still do get mountain views. The whole area, if you look around, you can see mountains. So if you're thinking about the trade-offs, it's still a very scenic place to live, I would say. Made it to what they call the Overlook area, and we first came here 10 months ago when we
This was
landed.
day one.
Day one, I think.
The very first day we arrived in Las Vegas and went out, we came here because we were going to look at
Tri-Point.
all the homes over there, and we've got the video of us doing it. We should never have done that video.
We were very tired.
Very, very tired. But it's nice to come back to the day one spot.
My memory of that is it's the first time that I appreciated just how windy Vegas gets, or Henderson, which no one really tells you about until you get here. So when we first came here, we came here to look at Tri-Point homes, and we weren't really sure what we liked. We loved the home, we weren't really sure of the area. And we have come a couple of times into Henderson and Inspirada, either to eat and meet friends. And what we've noticed here, a bit like West Summerlin, there is a lot of development happening here. So when you come here, there's Toll Brothers, Tri-Point, KB. So very much like where we have been looking in West Summerlin, there is every developer here and so much going on in terms of new build homes, if that's what you're looking for.
The home prices as well are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So they're 100 to 200,000, depending on where you are, cheaper. And it's nice.
It is nice. It is very nice here. And much like where we've been, so in West Summerlin, we talk about your elevation and the views of the mountains and the strip. Here, it's the same thing. If you pick a good spot, you can have amazing views of the strip in the distance there.
Somewhere over there.
I like it. It's not the same feeling I get as Summerlin, but I can see why people would definitely love living here.
The other thing that we haven't mentioned is the traffic situation in Henderson is more similar to what you'd expect out of a normal city. It does get traffic, it does have a rush hour. It's not bad, it's not extreme like LA or London or lots of other places in the world, or Brussels, as we found out, horrific. But there is real traffic here. You have to, it's a city, it feels alive, it feels like people live here, it feels like it's existed for a period of time, whereas Summerlin feels like it's brand new and not many people are there yet. So there is a big trade-off, for me at least. I prefer the quietness of Summerlin, whereas I'm sure a lot of people would prefer to live in the city.
Yeah, and I would stress about the traffic. It's the only time I ever hear about traffic living here, and I have quite a few colleagues that live in Henderson, and they will often refer to the traffic that's on the 215 quite often, and it's just not something that me and Ant ever talk about. So we've come to another place in Henderson, and it's actually, we got some lunch here. We've at our first Indian place that we've had since moving to Vegas.
Yeah, I think we've had Indian maybe one other time.
Did we? I can't remember.
Not here. Since we've been coming to the USA.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
We, for the new viewers, we've been coming to the US for how long now? 15 years.
Many years.
15 years plus. We always had bad experiences with Chinese food and Indian food in the US, but we were only ever really having it in Florida. So I think that completely put us off. You also don't particularly like Indian food outside of India,
anyway,
or what your family may or may not make. So we've been a bit dubious, but our friends let us know this place existed, and it was actually really good and super cheap.
Super cheap. So for the both of us, including tip, I think I paid about $41.
Yeah, maybe even $40, and that was unlimited food and unlimited garlic bread, which was great, and 2 waters. So $40 is very cheap. In the UK, you pay maybe $11 for the main bit of meat, and then a free
main curry or whatever, and then the rice.
£11, sorry, for the meat, and then maybe £3 for the rice. So it's quite expensive in the UK. So here it's a bit cheaper and probably nicer than most places.
And where we're at now, it's an area with lots of restaurants. From what I can see, there was a kind of like market happening here as well.
Yeah.
Which came and in a space of 1 hour was here and then disappeared.
It was a full market in the space which
here.
I'll put in somewhere. We went in and ate. I had 2 plates of food. You had one in a bit. We drank our water. We came out and the entire market was packed up and gone. Because we were going to include it in this video, but it's gone now. So
yeah, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of I was going to say downtown Summerlin, but downtown Summerlin, the whole area is very different, but a bit of what they try to do on the outskirts of downtown Summerlin, where they have these marketplaces as well that pop up with the restaurants. But yeah, it seems nice here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
he cackled at that. He's like, no way.
So our final stop will be an older part of Henderson. We don't really know where we're going because we don't come here. So we're going to attempt to find it, show you what it looks like, and you can compare it to our video of Summerlin, which all looks pretty much the same as any part of Summerlin we showed. So
we found a spot near the place that we was at, and this is Silverado in Henderson. And it's interesting because we were trying to find a spot just to show you what the residential area looks like, and it's very similar to when we was in Green Valley, and we struggled because there's lots of gated communities which we couldn't get into, or we do have to just kind of randomly drive and find them, and it looks very similar. It looks the same. Yeah.
How they've done the side roads, how the houses sit on the back of the road, and then each of the side roads has all the house fronts. One of the things you notice here is everywhere seems to be a main road. The houses are literally off the back of a main road, so it's quite loud, and a lot of the people's gardens back onto them. So for me, it's a little bit too much. I think I'd prefer a more private area where I don't have to put up with the noise like that.
Yeah, so here, this area's been here for many years, and it's not like in Sparada where they've been developing that in the last few years and they have these quieter places and cul-de-sacs. This, I don't know, very different. It's hard to say.
Hopefully you can pick up from what we're showing on the camera what it's like. It's different. It feels more like it's been part of the community for ages rather than brand new.
Here, what I would say is the difference to, say, Anthem or Inspirada that I've noticed is they have trails, lots of parks, cycle lanes that they have built into those communities, whereas here you don't notice that here. I don't think I've noticed a single cycle path here. I am sure, though, what you get in terms for your money, in terms of maybe the lot of land, the backyard space, I'm guessing is perhaps larger and with the driveway as well.
You definitely get more value for money, definitely, over here. Some of these I know are, there was one that guy put up that I watched, it was 250,000 less, bigger yard, big house, bigger yard, more driveway space, and 250 grand less than where we live.
And presumably no HOA fees.
No.
And so therefore you've got more flexibility in terms of what you can do in terms of your property, but then that's the reason why it looks so different to a place like Summerlin or the other communities. One thing I did think about Henderson on this trip is this is actually what I thought living in Vegas. And I know this isn't Vegas, and I know the people in Henderson are very particular about pointing that out, but this is what I imagined living here would be like. in that the style of community would be, okay, you could get a very nice property, but you would always be driving to the shops. There wasn't many local parks, or there is one, but you have to drive to it, which is why I think I really fell in love with Summerlin, because it was really my ideal, a place where I felt that you can go out for walks, hikes, you can cycle, and you didn't have to always have your car to get to somewhere. And that was very important for me, and something I really like about Summerlin. Henderson reminds me of what I would have imagined coming to.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we've said it before, I think I thought it was going to be more like Florida.
Yeah.
And everywhere, we've been in Florida so many times, and I'm sure there are different communities, but the ones we always stayed in, they were just massive lots of houses, and then you would have to drive 10, 15, 20 minutes to get to anywhere. Yeah. Even your neighbouring block of homes might be 10 minutes away, so you're just sort of out in the middle of nowhere, and we both thought that's what we were going to get.
Yeah, and even to the point of like how the road layout is and how large the roads are here and getting into the shops, this is everything that I imagined. But I would say, coming here again, it is lovely and it is nice, and it really just depends. I wouldn't say Henderson or Summerlin is better. It just really depends on what you like.
Yeah, so I would say, before we finish up, they're not comparable. When people say those are the two areas, I don't think they're comparing them. I think they're saying those are the best two areas available in Las Vegas, in and around Las Vegas. But they're not, you can't go, okay, I'm going to create a list of 10 things and which one, all of them are going to check off different things. It's just, what do you want out of it? So if you are planning on coming to Vegas to live, definitely visit both areas and see what matches your lifestyle the best.
I hope you've enjoyed that. We're going to share a lot more on Summerlin as well. So let us know what you think, comment below. Let us know if there's anything else that you're interested in knowing about.
Thanks for watching.